Shams. Oh, you didn't get my thing down there.
Oh.
Please. Oh. You didn't start with the theme song.
Why turn the music off?
Just saying.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
How are y'all?
Happy Wednesday.
So we have a little treat going on in the background. Little Beyonce.
Queen Bee.
She is working it for us.
She always does.
And we can see what she's doing on here. I hope no one gets naked or something.
Amanda just warned us.
I
And
know.
I was like, oh no, she's appropriate all the time.
I'm not sure if her videos
All
are
the time.
appropriate.
Shanti is saying, hey there. Hey.
Hi, Shanti, sorry. Oh.
It's all good. It's all good.
So, all right. So we're gonna go live for
So,
recording our
yes.
polished video here. So
Yeah.
here we go.
And okay. All
Hello,
right.
everybody. So it's Wine Wednesday and real estate time. What's all you
Cheers.
think about that?
Cheers.
I got a little rosé. They got a little champs.
Little sham.
So today we're gonna talk about all the single ladies, all the single men, buying on their own, being empowered,
Being empowered.
going out, buying houses, doing their thing.
You can buy a house for yourself on Valentine's Day.
You know what? You know, if maybe you had an ex and you know you want to show them, go buy yourself a house, right?
Or maybe you just want to buy a house. So go buy a house.
Yeah. As we said, the best saying ever: just do it.
Just do it.
Just do it.
So yeah, so I think that this pertains to, you know, the fact that a lot of people pay rent, a lot of people live on their own, a lot of people think, oh, there's no way I could afford it, there's no way I can do this by myself, and we're just here to discuss, you know, are there pitfalls, are there advantages, are there issues that may be different than
We
if
have
you
a
had
lot
someone to go in with you on
And
it?
I think that we have a lot of millennial buyers, and you know, a lot of
millennials are
we're
waiting
seeing
longer,
That,
yeah.
they're staying single for a bit longer, and
I definitely in my own career, my own business, have seen an uptick in single people versus people partnering with someone to purchase homes. So I think it's fantastic. I think that it's out there.
I wish I did it when I was young, you know, because then I would have started building equity sooner.
Sure.
You know, and
Yeah.
then, you know, why pay someone else's rent, as Jenny always said.
Yeah.
You know, invest in yourself.
Well, and I think that is the theme of today. I mean, either way, you're paying a house payment. So
Might as well pay your own.
Yeah.
you always have to have somewhere to live.
Yes.
yes, that too.
Yes. So let's talk about, you know, I don't think there's a whole
Beyonce.
lot of differences.
What did I say? I warned you guys.
Oh, there she is again.
Beyonce.
So,
So
but,
Beyonce's a single lady.
yes.
Not
What?
We had
She's
some-
not really.
She
but-
was a single lady,
We had all the single ladies on.
and it was supposed to loop.
But
and
that's
it
not
isn't,
working.
So
So now we're going through the loop of all Beyonce.
all Beyonce all the time.
So, you know, I don't know that there's a lot different, but, you know, maybe some things to take into account if you're single versus, you know,
I bought my house. Well, I bought my house by
So
myself.
let's use you as
Yes.
an example.
I had to have a cosigner because at that time my debt to income was too high, which means that I had too many like student loans debts, my car, and things like that added up that I didn't make enough money at the time. If I waited until I bought my house in October, so if I waited until January, I would have been fine because I had my tax returns. I'm a 1099 employee, so it works a little bit differently for a 1099. But I still bought my house by myself, and I do have a cosigner, but I don't look to them. However, if I were to default on my loan, then my cosigner is not responsible for my house.
Yes.
So
It mitigates the bank's risk. So,
Yeah.
like, you know, in our instance, you know, we're all 1099, and, you know, employees or not employees, but we just get paid differently. So, banks see that as more of a risk, and so they'll take 2 years of your tax returns, and you can't really
Which
buy a
they
house
will
if you
anyway
haven't
for
been
W2
1099.
as well.
Yeah, right. But if you're 1099, you've got to have 2 years of tax returns as a 1099
Right.
before they'll let
Yeah.
you.
yeah, so it's a little bit different than if
But if you can
a
get a
W-2.
cosigner, so that's a good point.
Right. Yeah, I was able to get a cosigner, but again, like I'm still paying, you know, the mortgage on my own and things like that. And obviously, you know, as buying it as a single person, you could get a roommate if you needed a roommate, or if you did have a boyfriend or a girlfriend or something that moved in with you. You know, that kind of takes away some of that too.
Sure.
But things that I had to think about were my maintenance and learning
Not someone
about,
else to
right,
count on,
right.
yeah.
I can't call, and I'm lucky to have handy family. But those are all things that you should take into account, obviously,
Yes.
when buying. Like, should you buy a condo or should you buy a house?
Did you consider a condo versus a
No,
house? or
I never
you
did
always
because
wanted a
I
house?
have, like I said, I had like handy family, so
Sure.
they've always been very helpful for me. And we renovated my house. But a condo, like, I just don't think, I wanted a yard.
Yep.
So I have a really small yard, but I wanted that. Like, I wanted to shovel my own driveway and I wanted to cut my grass and,
Wow.
do
I
that.
don't want to do any of that.
See, I do. I do want to do that. So
That's not for me.
I have people for that.
I like to hire out.
And so that's the thing. You can buy a house and you can hire out and
Well,
have people
it's-
do it for you anyway.
It's, so if you buy a condo, you're paying condo dues.
Right.
So if you have a house and then you choose to pay
Mhm.
someone to do it, it's
Right.
like you're paying
Right.
for what you would get kind of in
Yeah.
a condo.
And
Like,
then condos, again, a lot of times they take care of your exterior maintenance, which your roof and like your siding and things like that. But those are also things that you have to, think about with maintenance and, if you don't want to deal with that, because I think buying it as a single person, you have to keep saving your money for things like your HVAC and your roof and your siding and just common things that come up.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're laughing at the video.
We just
It's
don't
gone
even know
astray,
what's going
like-
to come up next. I'm a little nervous.
So, but, those are certainly all things to take into account, and it's really not any different if you're, buying with someone else or just yourself. But knowing that, you're on your own, maybe a condo does make more sense.
Mhm.
It would for me,
Yeah,
personally.
I mean, it would
Yeah,
for me
it just
even now
depends,
anyways,
yeah,
but,
on what you want.
But okay, I was gonna start talking about myself. Carry on. No, I'm
No,
saying
go
like
ahead.
the things that I wanted to do, wouldn't fit in a condo. Like if I wanted to buy the chickens I want, or whatever.
Can you do
Like,
that in your house now?
yes,
Oh, you can have chickens
Yes.
in Hilliard.
yes. I'm Columbus Hilliard.
Okay.
Hilliard wouldn't let you.
Huh.
I actually think they do now. I think people have gotten a little bit more laid back on that stuff. I'm not sure, but
I think it's about how much your neighbors raise this thing.
well, I think ultimately that's what it comes down to. So, you have to consider those things. Like, for instance,
Do you want chickens or do you not want chickens?
do you want, yeah, pretty much. I was gonna say, I had a client last year who, it was a younger woman, happened to be, that was buying a home, and she wanted a garden in her front yard.
Mm-hmm.
And now that's going to come to, what does the HOA say, and things like that. But then she was excited because the neighbor had bees in the backyard, and she was like, oh wait, maybe I want to be a beekeeper. So
I wouldn't like if my neighbors had bees.
I think
in
that
Me neither.
these things that I'm talking
I'm
about right
scared to
now
death.
would be if you're buying a home on your own or with someone, because now we're getting into condo versus
I mean,
Right.
just keep
single
in
family
mind.
rather than
If
Right.
you're doing that, I
Topic.
think the thing to keep in mind is if you're doing this on your own, is that you're doing it on your own.
You get to
don't
decide.
necessarily have someone else. You get to decide, and you have no one else to
Yeah.
count on. So, so
And then you have to think that it's just your credit.
Yep.
So you have
Right.
to make sure that your credit's in the right place to be able to buy a house. And however, can you really buy a house though, even if you are married? Like if one person has good credit, and one person doesn't?
Well, they look at, okay, Shanti. Oh,
So-
Shanti. How does that work between if you're buying a home with someone versus yourself? If you were buying it with someone, does the credit, average out? Do they look at one versus the other? I think
think
what
it
they're
has
doing
more
is
to
looking
do
at one
with-
versus the other.
I think if it has more to do with how you file your taxes, because you're going to give them 2 years of your tax returns. If you're filing your taxes jointly, where you're together, you're married, you file joint tax returns, then it's like your income is lumped all
Mm-hmm.
as one. So I don't, maybe you can still buy. You can still buy as one person. The other person has to sign their dower rights
Right.
away. But I heard that
We
the
use the
dower rights were
lowest
changing.
credit, she said.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the lowest credit. So
Okay.
that's good to know.
Mhm.
Good to know. So if you have two people, and
Because
that's the
I
case,
know that if you do have a cosigner, if you say your credit isn't quite there and you have a cosigner that has excellent credit, it doesn't help you in any type of way.
See, okay, so Shanti also said you can be married and buy also, which I have had that as well, that one of the partnership purchases
Well, I've had
the
that,
home
yeah.
and then the
But what
direct
if you're
rights
going
come into
through the
it.
divorce though? Like, what if there's a divorce in process, and is that going to change things? Shanti, we've got all kinds of questions
Ask
for you
Shanti.
today. I am Shanti. So Shanti, yeah, let us know.
I don't know about divorce, but
Yeah, because a lot of times, I mean,
Well-
people will stay together for a while, but they just haven't finalized the whole divorce proceedings.
What do you mean
So-
as far as buying a home next?
Yeah, so like if
So I think if they're on the deed with the
Or the
first house,
mortgage,
they
yeah.
have to be.
oh, they just have to take themselves off of it.
They
You basically refinance the house. And
The-
get
you
yourself
do
off of it.
refinance
Yes.
the house, and you have to buy
Yeah.
the other person
Yes.
out.
or if you're not going to go through that whole process, then you have to qualify as if
Or you sell the house.
Right.
It says
and you both
she
buy
said
it.
even with divorce, you can do a loan solo.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I've had a client do
Yep.
that.
Mm-hmm.
So what other things should we be thinking about if you're single here? So
That you can afford the monthly payment on your own for good. I mean,
Well,
that
figure
was,
if
you know,
you
even if you have, like, I thought about it, like, for myself, you know, if I no longer had a roommate, then am I gonna be fine paying it on my
Right.
own?
yeah, so that's a good point. Is
Mhm.
if you're going to get a roommate, and they're going to help subsidize like
Mhm.
your mortgage by paying you rent, which of course you can do that. But they're not going to, unless you have a rent history with that person, like in that property, they're not going to count that towards your
Right.
income to qualify you for the property. So it's going to help you have a lower payment essentially, but it's not going to help you
Right.
qualify to buy more.
And
of
I
a
mean,
house.
just even on it, like, being comfortable with that payment on
Yes.
your own.
She
That's
said,
that's the biggest part. I
Yeah.
think.
Shanti said you need to show the lender you can afford payment alone.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So most lenders and most, that's what the
Mhm.
debt to income ratio. We won't get into big terms here or anything, but as long as basically you're spending less on all of your debt, than 45%. So if you add up all your debt payments, including your house and credit cards or student loans, add all of that up and then divide it by your, monthly gross income. As long as that's less than 45%, typically you're going to be able to get a loan.
One of the
And your credit score's okay too, so.
One of the things we had discussed as well, and this applies to both buying it on your own and if you were buying it with someone, is down payment.
Oh,
A lot of times people are afraid the down payment has to be 20%,
Yes.
and that's not the case. If so don't let purchasing a home on your own, don't let that be the fear. Their lenders usually are 3.5%. What I had mentioned on the podcast was I do know of a lender that does a 1%
Right.
loan down payment. So
I think the biggest thing in what you just said there was there's a lot of fear, I think, in the unknown
Mhm.
with all of this. And don't let that fear take you out of accomplishing your goal. I know, right? So, if you're afraid your credit score's too low or you can't afford X payment or whatever
down
it is.
payment, and there's down payment assistant programs.
Or if you
which
don't
we
think you
talked
have
about
enough
as
money for a
well.
down payment. There are so many things that maybe you don't know or don't understand going into this, but that's why you have us, is to help you overcome those obstacles and even those fears. Because most of the times what I find is people can qualify when they think they can't, and they often qualify for more purchase power than what they think they can.
And it's
So-
not always ideal to buy the top of your purchase
well, right,
power.
yeah, I mean,
And that's something obviously that you have to figure out for yourself.
right,
but-
what payment you're comfortable
Mhm.
with, and your lender can work with you on all of that. Or if you've had past credit issues, lenders can help you resolve, and get your credit score
Yeah.
up, So, and a lender said to me the other day, and I thought it was about the perfect way to put it was, I can help you. The lender said I can help you get where you need to go faster than you're going to be able to do it on your own. Because they know if you do this, it's going to raise your points this much.
Right, they know what you need to pay off. Like
Yeah.
rather than you
Right.
go, well, I
To
want to
pay
pay this
off
off, I want
or,
to pay
you know,
this off.
right.
Like they're gonna tell you, no, pay this off. Like this is gonna get your
Right,
score.
and paying off isn't always the best answer.
Yeah.
So, talk to someone, like Shanti or, another lender out there who can help you.
Shanti happens to be available on my feed right now.
Yes. People are bolting from our Facebook Live to Jenny's right now. But yeah, talk to somebody. Overcome the fears. Don't let that hold you back. And accomplish your goals and let us help you
Yeah.
do that. That's my moral
You can
story
buy your
today.
house by yourself.
You
Yeah,
can.
don't think that you can't. And what I was gonna say earlier was what rent payments are now. I mean, you
Crazy.
can buy quite a house for
Mm-hmm.
that. $1,000, $1,200, $1,500. I was
There are
talking.
condos downtown, or not apartments downtown, $2,000. For like a 1-bedroom or a bedroom with an office. Like
Well-
$2,000 will get you a pretty sizable house.
So I was talking to someone the other night, and she is looking to purchase a home. She'd be buying it on her own. She needs a bigger house. She has not talked to a lender yet. And with a mortgage calculator, figuring out today's interest rate, and no, this didn't factor in taxes, but the payment on the house, it was a $180,000 house for 30 years, was like $880.
Right. For a house,
Primary-
not a 2-bedroom or 1-bedroom
Principal and interest.
apartment.
Yeah, so it would be $1,000 figure with taxes and,
Right.
and
Well, depending on where it is. But.
Yeah. I mean, you're
right. Well, no, this
that
particular
amount-
house, it was that.
I mean, and generally, the tax rates, it seems like, there are definitely suburbs and areas where the taxes are a bit
Considerably
higher.
higher, yeah.
But in the end, when you factor that over a 12-month period and you're in a certain price range, you maybe swing a difference of like $100 a month at most,
Yeah.
usually, on taxes in one place versus somewhere else. And I think $100 is probably even stretching it.
Now, also, remember, PMI, if you do a lower down payment,
The battery.
if you do a lower down payment, you will have PMI, so that's going to be another, couple $100.
So Ryan from Caliber Homeline said that it's typically about 0.85% of the amount of
Yeah,
that
it
you're borrowing.
really wasn't that much. Like, well, I did a conventional, 20% conventional, so I don't pay PMI, but I think for me to have PMI, it was only like $60 a month.
Well, yeah. So like, if on a $100,000 house at 0.85%, what you're looking at $850 a year. So is that right?
Yeah, because mine is about 65. That's what
Yeah.
that took a lot of.
Yeah.
like,
So 1%'s $1,000. So yeah. So 0.85 would be about $850 a year. Divide that by 12, and that just gets factored into your payments. So, again, moral of the story: none of this is as scary as it sounds as you go into it. So.
Yeah, you just have to learn about the process.
Yeah.
And honestly, like we've said a million times, the first step is getting pre-approved. And,
Right.
Talk with us. We can get you to lenders and, get that process started.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
So, get yourself a glass of wine.
Give us a call.
Very exciting.
Go online. Look us up. Call us. Email us. Text us.
We are
We'll connect you with the lender.
We are
We're
everywhere
gonna get you
right
approved
now.
today
Oh.
and get you in a house.
Tomorrow. 30
Okay, maybe
days from
not
now.
tomorrow. But that's realistic. If we found the house for you this
Today.
week,
This
in
weekend,
30 days,
yeah, 30 days
you could be
owner.
moving into your new house. Think about that.
30 days.
In 30 days, you could be moving into your own home.
Shanti is always happy to help.
Yes.
So contact one of us,
Why does
Yes.
everyone do that?
and we will
It's
we will
fuzzy.
get you over to her to
It's
talk
just the
about it.
connection, internet.
I turn
And
off
it's
my
not
Wi-Fi.
necessarily, because see how it's clear on
I
your
know. I
phone.
turn off my Wi-Fi.
This
though.
is just,
No, it's not.
Yeah,
That's
not
what it
everybody's
is.
seeing it.
Yeah, they do.
What's happening?
I don't know. We have to go.
Okay, bye.
Bye, everybody. Cheers.
Cheers.
Find us online.
Oh, wait. So hang on. We're everywhere right now. We are,
We are everywhere.
via Facebook page. We also have created a Facebook group, Wine Wednesday in Real Estate. So, you can ask questions there if you want to join the group.
Yeah, you can find us at www.re.com.
You
We have our
can.
own little website, believe it or not.
You can also find us on YouTube. I have YouTube.
You
have
can find
YouTube.
us on Alexa.
Amanda doesn't. But that's okay. You can find her through us.
So on
Alexis.
Alexa, you can search Alexis.
Alexa. I was going to say Alexa Skill, but you started
Oh.
talking. So
Oh, so in other words, it's
Alexis.
like, shut up, Wayne.
I was talking.
That's what I just got.
I was talking.
Carry on.
No. You carry on.
Oh, I will. So find us on Alexa. If you have an Alexa, search the skills, Wine Wednesday in Real Estate.
Uncorked.
No,
Okay,
just
look
Wine
at
Wednesday.
Beyonce's glasses before we we go.
She's amazing. I don't know how she
So the
sees
skill
that.
on Alexa is just Wine Wednesday in real estate, but our little spiel that we do is uncorked because it's our preview. We're uncorking the wine for today.
To
See
talk
we
about
did
what
there.
we talk about on Wednesday.
And then also, there's Columbus, Ohio real estate, and there will be more. There's not much on that scale right now, but the Wine Wednesday in real estate, there's some stuff on there. So
Okay. And
Like
also
Jenny said,
podcast. Don't
podcast,
forget that too.
iTunes, Google Play. You can't get away from us, folks.
We're everywhere.
See you next Wednesday.
See ya.
Bye,
Cheers.
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 Happy Valentine's Day.
Oh yeah, happy Valentine's Day.